In the city of Changsha, in a time when dynasties rose and fell like seasons, there lived a young scholar named Xiao Sheng. He was poor but gifted, and his heart was restless in the way that only the truly sensitive can understand. One day, a merchant named Shi posted a challenge in the market. Whoever could complete a poem begun by his daughter would receive a great reward. Xiao Sheng read the poem, and something in his chest went still. The poem was written by LIAN Cheng, the merchant's daughter. She had written of autumn, of longing, of something unnamed that waits at the edge of every beautiful thing. Xiao Sheng took his brush and completed her poem, not to win the prize, but because her words had reached into him and found something he did not know was there. When LIAN Cheng read his response, she wept. She did not know why. She only knew that someone, somewhere, had understood. They had never met. They lived in the same city, breathed the same autumn air, but they were separated by the walls of her father's house and the distance that wealth places between people. What they had was only words, poems passed back and forth like secret letters, each one more tender than the last. In those poems they built a world that belonged to neither the rich nor the poor, a world that belonged only to them. Xiao Sheng asked for her hand in marriage. Her father refused. A poor scholar was not what he had in mind for his daughter. The gate closed. The poem stopped. But love, once truly given, does not obey the closing of gates. LIAN Cheng kept his poems hidden beneath her pillow. At night she would take them out and read them by candlelight, one by one, until the candle burned low and the room grew cold. Then LIAN Cheng fell ill, not from any fever the doctors could name. She stopped eating. She stopped speaking. She lay in her room looking at nothing, and the light in her eyes grew dimmer each day. Her father brought physicians from every corner of the province. None could help her. One old doctor finally said, quietly, "This is not a sickness of the body. This is a sickness of the heart." A servant girl who loved LIAN Cheng came secretly to Xiao Sheng. She said, "Come to the garden wall at dusk. Just stand there. Say nothing. Just be near." Xiao Sheng came. He stood at the wall as the sun went down. He did not speak. He did not call her name. He simply stood there, his heart quiet and full. Inside the wall, LIAN Cheng rose from her bed for the first time in weeks. She walked to the window. She breathed. There was a day, one single day, when the servant girl arranged for them to meet briefly in the garden. LIAN Cheng came through a side gate, her head lowered, carrying a small embroidered cloth. She had sewn his poem into the silk with her own hands, stitch by stitch, night after night, in secret. She held it out to him without raising her eyes. He took it. Their fingers touched for a single moment, the length of a breath. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them needed to. For a time, his nearness healed her. She began to eat again, to speak again, to smile the small, careful smile of someone who has learned that joy must be guarded. But they still could not meet, still could not touch, still could not be in the same room. Love lived between them like a flame inside a lantern, burning clearly, but sealed away from the wind. And the wind, as it always does, found a way in. Her father arranged her marriage to another man, a wealthy man from a good family. LIAN Cheng said nothing. She had learned that saying nothing was its own kind of speaking. On the night before the wedding preparations began, she took out all of Xiao Sheng's poems and read them one last time. Then she folded them carefully and placed them back beneath her pillow. She closed her eyes. By morning, she was gone. After she died, and before he died, Xiao Sheng went home and took out every poem she had ever sent him. He read them all. He read them slowly, the way you eat the last meal you will ever have, knowing it is the last, wanting to taste every word. Her handwriting was careful and small, like someone who had been taught that women should not take up too much space. But her words took up the whole world. He folded the poems. He held them to his chest. He closed his eyes. Xiao Sheng heard that LIAN CHENG had died. He walked to her family's gate and stood there without knowing why. The gate was closed. The house was quiet. He sat down on the ground in front of that gate, and he wept. Not the weeping of despair, but the weeping of someone who has lost the only person in the world who ever truly understood him. He wept until there was nothing left. Then he lay down beside the gate, and he too stopped breathing. In the world between worlds, where the dead walk in the soft gray light of what was and what might have been, Xiao Sheng wandered. He did not know where he was going. He only knew he was looking for something. The gray paths wound through mountains he had never seen, past rivers with no names. And then, on a path between two ancient trees, he saw her, LIAN CHENG, standing still, waiting, as if she had always known he would come. They stood looking at each other in the world of the dead, and for the first time, there were no walls between them. No father's gate, no difference in wealth, no world of the living with all its rules and distances. Just two people who had loved each other through poems alone, now standing close enough to touch. She reached out her hand. He took it. It was the first time. It felt like something that had always been true finally being spoken aloud. A kind spirit who watched over the wandering dead saw them together and felt something move in his ancient heart. He had seen many souls pass through, emperors, beggars, generals, servants, and rarely had he seen love so pure that it crossed even death. He went to the judges of the underworld and made a case. These two, he said, were taken before their time. Their love was true. The world above still needs such love. Let them return. The judges of the underworld are not easily moved. They have seen every kind of plea, but something in the spirit's words, or perhaps something in the love itself, its quietness, its patience, its refusal to become bitter even in death, reached them. They conferred in low voices. They consulted the great ledgers of fate. And then, slowly, they nodded. The two souls would be returned, together, as it should have been from the beginning. Xiao Sheng woke first. He was lying in the cold grass outside LIAN CHENG's family gate, and people were standing over him in alarm. He sat up slowly. His chest ached. His hands trembled. He looked around. Then the gate opened, and servants came running out carrying something. LIAN CHENG had woken too, in the same moment, in her room. She had sat up and asked for water. Her father stood at her bedside and wept without shame. In the days that followed, everything changed. Her father, who had watched his daughter die and return from death, could no longer speak of wealth and status. He had seen what his rules had done, and what love, refused and imprisoned, had cost. He called for Xiao Sheng. He looked at him for a long time. This poor scholar with his ink-stained hands and his quiet eyes. Then he bowed his head. The gate that had always been closed was finally, simply, open. Xiao Sheng and LIAN CHENG were married in the season of chrysanthemums, when the air smells of wood smoke and the last warmth of the year. There was no great ceremony, no banquet for 100 guests, just a quiet room, two people, and the poems they had written to each other folded small and kept close. They had already said everything that needed to be said. In the language of poetry, in the world of the dead, in the first touch of hands on a gray and windless road. There is something in the story of LIAN CHENG and Xiao Sheng that has no dynasty, no century, no single country. Two people recognize each other through what they create. A poem, a painting, a story, a song. The recognition happens before they can explain it. It asks nothing about wealth or status or what the world thinks is appropriate. It simply says, I know you. I have been looking for you. Here you are at last.